Shadowboxing lesson 2. We're going to add an extra punch to this, but we're also going to introduce moving backwards. So let's begin. As always, the most important thing you do is set yourself up right at the beginning. So make sure if you're on your tiles or using the footwork training system, this foot is at 45 degrees, as is this. This can be a bit flatter, but 45 degrees I think is perfect. Lift that back heel off the floor. So we're going to push off this back foot and we're going to do the jab on the first step. So we're going to land the hand and the foot at the same time. This is important as mentioned in lesson 1. So we've got step, jab, then we've got step with no punch, then we're going to add the cross to this. So then we're going to go step, jab, cross, okay? Now remember to pivot with your back heel, otherwise you're not going to reach the target again, okay? Then we're going to go back to the stance box with 3 steps, but we're not going to do anything on the retreat. So we're just going to maintain this stance, try not to look down, and try and land exactly back there. So we're going to go step, step, step. So I'm very close to being in the correct position. So this is going to be round 1 exercise of lesson 2. So we're going to go step, 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 jab, cross, retreat, retreat, retreat. Keeping that line between our feet like this. One small technique thing I'd like you to focus on today to improve where we were yesterday is I don't want to see an elbow flare. Now watch this jab. This jab should in theory land like that without anybody being able to see it. Just push that shoulder forward as it goes through there. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see this. So your key, if you're looking at yourself in a mirror or on a TV screen playing it back to yourself, is don't allow that elbow to flare out. If your opponent can see that, that's something that they're going to pick up on and then they'll neutralize your jab. So let's work on that and the footwork, and this is going to be round 1 of lesson 2. Each round's going to be different, but let's go. Step, step, step 1, 2. No elbow flare. Step, step, step. Step, step, step 1, 2. Step, step, step. Step, step, step 1, 2. Step, step, step. After the 1, 2, if you want to move your head, you can do, because your opponent may throw punches back at you. So I like you to move your head twice at the end. So let's do that at the end of that part. So step, step, step 1, 2. Move the head, move the head. Come back to the center. Step, step, step. So we've got a small improvement there. So let's work on that. Step, step. My mistake, I got that wrong. Step 1, 2. Step, step, step. I think I was thinking of too many things at once, so let's try and do that correctly. A step with a jab, a step with nothing. Step with a jab, step with nothing. Step 1, 2, move the head twice, then retreat, retreat, retreat. Step, step. Step 1, 2, move the head, retreat, retreat, retreat. Keep going, we'll do the full 2 minutes. Step, step. Step 1, 2, move the head, step, step, step. Step, step, step 1, 2, move the head, step, step, step. We can do one more. Step, step, step 1, 2, step, step, step. There. We've got our first round of 2 minutes. So for the second round, we're going to do the same thing. Except during the retreat, so we're going to do this. Step, step, step 1, 2. We can move our head. On the way back, we're going to do just a normal step. Then this one, we're going to add a jab on the way back. So we'll go step with a jab. Then we do a normal step to retreat back to here. Why do we do a jab on the way forward? Well, I call this a safety jab. There are different names for it. Different coaches call it different things. But during this minute's rest, we've got time for me to explain it. If you're advancing towards me as you come forward, and I do a jab as I move backwards, this is going to move my head very slightly off the center line. It's going to make it harder for you to hit me. Also, it's going to check you as you come in and stop you, hopefully. So I'm not just retreating and then getting bullied and pushed into the corner. So let's do that together. We've got another 2 minutes now. So let's try and get these correct. So no elbow flare, let's go. So we've got step, step, step 1, 2, move the head twice, step with no punch, now with punch, step, step, back to the center, to the start again. Check your foot position before we go again. Step, step, step 1, 2, move the head, step, 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 step 1, 2, move the head, step, step, missed one, that was my fault, step. Don't worry if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. I like to disrupt the pattern anyway. I like fighters to use a disruptive pattern so that it's harder for their opponents to guess what they're going to do next. So this time I'll try and do it right. Step, step, step 1, 2, move the head, step, now the jab, step, step. Hooray, I managed to do one right at last. Step, step, step 1, 2, move the head, step, step, step. We've got 45 seconds left, we can get 3 more in, I reckon. Step, step, step 1, 2, step, 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 step 1, 2, step, step, step. Last step, step, step 1, 2, step, step, step. Doesn't always work when you're trying to think of too many things at once. That's a 2-minute round. So for round 3, let's add something extra. Okay, so for round 3, let's add something a little bit different. When you're moving forwards and backwards like that, what you can do is you can just do a little feint or a little defensive move. Now the defensive move I'm going to get you guys to do, this is what I call my center line. I'm on the center line here. This is where you're most likely to try and punch when I'm on the center. If my head is off center, it makes it harder for you to punch. So what I'm going to get you to do, it's quite an advanced move this. When we throw our punch, as we throw a punch there, we're going to move our head off the center line. So we're going to throw the jab and move our head off the center line. Now you can see that I'm exposed a little bit here. This is the more advanced move. I call this a cross-arm defense, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. And this is going to protect me, in theory, from an overhand right that comes towards me. It also exposes me to a left that could come this way, but boxing is a case of compromises. So for the final round, when I throw my jab, the first jab and the jab going backwards, I'm going to use a cross-arm defense just to protect myself that way. Once again, get set up in the correct position, and what we're going to do is we're going to go step, there's that cross-arm defense, can you see it? Then I'm going to go to here, step, 1, 2, move the head, step, step, step. It's not an easy move to do this, it's going to take a whole round to get the hang of it. So let's go, step, step, step 1, 2, step, step, step. Try and land with your feet in the right place with the line between your feet. Again, step, step, step 1, 2, step, 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 step 1, 2, step, 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 step 1, 2, step, step, step. Try and land in that place there. We've got 45 seconds, let's do 3 more. Step, step, step 1, 2, step, step, step. Try and keep your weight in the middle, no elbow flare, remember? Step, step, step 1, 2, step, 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 step 1, 2, step, 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 step 1, 2, step, step, step. So it's becoming a little more dynamic towards that. Now that's a lovely warm-up and a great way to start getting your shadowboxing moving forwards and backwards. Tomorrow we'll release lesson 3 and we're going to cover sideways movement. Hope you enjoyed it.